Don't buy a Honda CR-V until you know these problems. Because the biggest mistake CR-V shoppers make is assuming Honda no issues, and then getting blindsided by the exact stuff that owners complain about the most. The annoying, expensive-to-fix, everyday problems that don't show up in a 10-minute test drive and don't get mentioned in most reviews. In this video, I'm not here to trash the CR-V. I'm here to make sure you don't spend $30K to $40K plus and later realize the safe choice came with trade-offs you would have walked away from if someone had warned you up front. And stay with me, because the most overlooked CR-V problem isn't even a breakdown issue. It's the kind of thing you only notice after you've lived with the car, and by then, it's too late to unsign the paperwork. First, fuel economy, because this is where the CR-V can look unbeatable until you match it to your real driving. On the gas-only 1.5T models, the EPA ratings are 30 mB combined 2WD and 28 mB combined AWD, with 2WD listed at 28 city, 34 highway, 30 combined, and AWD at 26 city, 31 highway, 28 combined. That sounds great on paper, but here's the realistic part. If you do mostly short trips, cold starts, traffic, and you're not gentle with the throttle, you'll often live closer to the high 20s combined in AWD, and you'll watch it dip when you run the heater hard in winter, carry passengers, or cruise fast on the highway. Now, the hybrid is the reason so many people flock to the CR-V. The EPA ratings jump to 40 mm/E combined, 2WD, and 37 bar combined, AWD, with 43-36-40, 2WD, and 40-34-37, AWD. In the real world, that hybrid advantage is most obvious in stop-and-go suburban errands and mixed driving, exactly how most Americans actually use a compact SUV. But here's the open loop you need to keep in mind. The hybrid's efficiency win is real, yet some of the problems people complain about have nothing to do with MPG. And they show up more often on the trims people buy specifically because they're chasing that hybrid efficiency. Now the engine, because the CR-V is basically two different vehicles depending on which powertrain you choose. The standard CR-V uses a turbocharged 1.5-liter engine rated at 190 HP SAE net. It's paired to a CVT, and the way it delivers power is smooth and adequate, not exciting. Lots of usable torque for daily merging, but it's not going to feel like a performance SUV. The hybrid uses Honda's two-motor hybrid system with a 2.0-liter engine, listed at 145 HP on the engine itself, with 204 HP total system horsepower. What matters is how it feels. The hybrid system tends to deliver that immediate electric torque sensation at low speeds, so it can feel more responsive around town than you'd expect from the numbers, and it's typically quieter and smoother in the normal rhythm of traffic. Here's the tension you need to understand before you buy. The gas 1.5T is simpler in concept and can be cheaper up front, but it's the version that people scrutinize harder for long-term turbo CVT behavior and fuel economy consistency in harsh use. The hybrid is the one people praise for smoothness and MPE, yet it introduces different complexity, and owners tend to be more sensitive to software tech behavior and feel issues because they paid more expecting perfection. Next, AWD. And this is where a lot of buyers misunderstand what they're purchasing. The CR-V's AWD is designed as a practical traction system for real life: rain, slush, snow, steep wet driveways, loose gravel roads to a campsite, not a rock crawler setup. On the hybrid trims, Honda lists real-time AWD with intelligent control system availability, and the practical takeaway is simple. Most of the time, you're driving as efficiently as possible, and when the system senses slip or a need for traction, it can route power to help stabilize the vehicle and keep you moving. That's what it's for: confidence and control, not off-road flex. So the problem isn't that the AWD is bad, it's that buyers often pay for AWD expecting a dramatic capability jump, then realize their tires matter more than the badge, and the MPG penalty is permanent while the AWD benefit is occasional. This becomes especially important when you start comparing trims, because the hybrid AWD is attractive, but if you live in a warm state and mostly commute on clean roads, you may be paying for something you rarely use, while also accepting the small efficiency drop versus 2WD. Keep that in mind, because in a minute, we'll get to pricing, and you'll see how quickly just add AWD turns a sensible CR-V into a number that starts flirting with bigger SUVs. Now let's talk space, because this is the CR-V's real superpower, and also where some complaints hide in plain sight. Dimensionally, the CR-V is one of the most usable compact SUVs for 5 adults, and Honda's own specs list 41.3 inches front legroom and 41.0 inches rear legroom. That's why the back seat doesn't feel like punishment. Cargo is also legitimately strong. Depending on trim, Honda lists cargo volume around 39.3 CUFT behind the second row on many gas trims, and up to 76.5 CUFT with the seats down. Hybrids vary by trim and can list lower seats up cargo. For example, Honda lists 36.3 CUFT, 76.5 QUFT on some hybrid trims. In real life, that means strollers, big grocery runs, road trip luggage, and bulky boxes are simply easier here than in a lot of rivals. But here's the part people don't realize until later. Comfort isn't just space. It's seat shape, cushion density, and how the suspension behaves on rough roads. And owners who expected soft couch comfort sometimes discover the CR-V is more controlled and supportive than plush. Great for some bodies, not great for others. And that's where the complaints start showing up if the seat doesn't match your build or you're sensitive to firmness. Now, technology, because the CR-V is modern, but it's not flawless. And this is where the "don't buy it until you know" warning becomes very real. On paper, you're getting the features most people want. Honda Sensing Safety Suite, including collision mitigation braking, road departure mitigation, adaptive cruise control with low-speed follow, lane keeping assist, plus things like traffic sign recognition and driver attention monitoring depending on trim. That's the good news. The safety tech coverage is broad, and it's a major reason the CR-V shows up on smart buy lists, including Consumer Reports-style recommendations. The less fun news is that owners don't live inside a spec sheet. They live with screens, sensors, and little quality-of-life behaviors. If you skim real owner reviews, you'll see patterns. Complaints about infotainment tech glitches, sound system satisfaction varying by trim, and "why does this not feel as refined as I expected?" moments, especially from buyers who paid for upper trims and expected luxury-level polish. And the biggest technology-adjacent thing you must know, because it's not just a complaint, it's an actual safety campaign, is the steering gearbox recall affecting 2023-2025 CR-V and CR-V hybrid models. The service bulletin explicitly lists affected vehicles as 2023-25 CR-V and 2023-25 CR-V hybrid, and describes a steering gearbox repair procedure. That doesn't mean every CR-V is unsafe, and it doesn't mean don't buy. It means you should take 30 seconds and verify the specific VIN you're looking at has had the recall handled, because steering feel is not a place where you gamble. This is exactly the kind of issue that can get missed when a dealer says, "It's a Honda, you're good," and rushes you to finance. Now price, because this is where the CR-V can quietly become a bad deal if you shop emotionally instead of strategically. The 2025 CR-V's starting MSRP is commonly listed around $31,495 approx. For the entry point, with trims climbing into the mid-30Ks and hybrids pushing toward the low 40Ks depending on equipment. If you're looking at a hybrid higher trim, you're not crazy to see numbers around 37K to 41K plus approx. Before taxes and fees. And here's the honest value explanation. The CR-V is priced like a vehicle with strong resale, strong practicality, and high demand, because that's what it is. You're paying for a nameplate that holds value, a package that fits real life, and, especially on the hybrid, fuel savings over time. But here's the trap. Once you're near 40K, you're shopping in a zone where bigger vehicles, more powerful vehicles, and sometimes more feature-dense competitors start calling your name. That doesn't automatically make them smarter. It just means the CR-V must be the right fit, not the default choice. The best value CR-V is usually the one where you're not overpaying for features you don't care about, because the moment you do, every small annoyance we're about to discuss becomes magnified by one simple thought. I paid how much for this? Finally, common problems, real complaints, and this is the part you came for. So I'll be direct, balanced, and specific. One recurring theme in owner feedback is seat comfort. Some owners describe the front seats as unusually firm or shaped in a way that creates pressure points, especially on longer drives. And you'll see complaints about bolsters and cushion geometry that simply don't work for every body type. Another pattern is noise and minor build quality niggles, things like squeaks or rubbing sounds over rough roads, or a perception that certain interior pieces don't feel as tight as expected for the price. There are also complaints around visibility vibration, like reports of side mirrors shaking at highway speeds. Not everyone experiences it, but it's documented as an owner complaint. On the bigger side, the steering gearbox recall I mentioned earlier matters because it intersects with one of the most reported frustrations. Steering feel that isn't right is instantly noticeable and instantly stress-inducing, which is why verifying recall completion is non-negotiable. And if you want a broad snapshot of what owners tend to log as issues, complaint aggregators often highlight categories like steering and interior accessory issues for newer CR-V model years, useful as a signal, not as gospel, because those sites can overrepresent unhappy owners. Here's the key. None of this means the CR-V is bad. It means the CR-V has a very specific risk profile. Less catastrophic drivetrain failure, more death by 1,000 paper cuts if you're sensitive to seat comfort, cabin noises, tech behavior, or you buy without checking recall status. So the smartest way to shop this SUV is to treat it like a long-term relationship. You don't just look at the best traits, you test the things that will annoy you weekly. Take a 30-minute test drive on rough roads, sit in the seat like you would on a real commute, test your phone connection twice, listen for squeaks with the radio off, and then, this is the move that separates smart buyers from regret buyers, pull the VIN and confirm the steering recall is cleared. Because once you do that, the CR-V stops being the safe default and becomes what it should be, a deliberate choice. Are you shopping the CR-V mainly for the hybrid MPG? Or are you choosing it because you think Honda means problem-free by default? And if I showed you one rival that beats it on comfort, another that beats it on tech, and another that beats it on price, which one would scare you the most to miss?